Hello everyone. I welcome you all to our next session number 6. In this session, we are going to talk about how NLP, natural language processing, which we learned in last session, is very helpful in research. So, where is it useful? We will see countless examples in this session. So, there are 500 papers and one literature review that we are supposed to do. Where do we even start? What is a literature review? Let me just give you a idea. You all have done it at some point, but the idea is that you see and read through many papers to find what kind of research has already been done on this topic so that you can identify a problem which is not yet tackled. So that is a literature review. How do you start? For an example, a single medical literature review can begin with over 20,000 abstracts and end with a few hundred worth reading articles. No one reads 20,000 all papers, but they read a few articles still, and that is even 500. How do we use NLP in this process? So NLP does not replace the reading, but it can help you in decide at scale out of 20,000 or such big number what is worth reading closely according to your problem. That's how NLP helps you. So first idea is literature mining, finding the needles in the haystack. You have lots and lots of paper. NLP can work as a funnel from which only a few papers pass, which are really good. You should read them, and remaining will be discarded. So literature mining uses NLP to scan thousands of documents at once and pull out entities, relationships, patterns instead of human reading each paper by hand. For an example, National Institute of Health's text mining, an NLP group, uses these methods to improve literature research in PubMed journal and to pull entities out of article for large scale biomedical research. So if you want to do a large scale research, you can make a text mining NLP program, okay, where you just send a lot of papers and the NLP program, the NLP agent, the NLP model will decide what paper to send through and what paper you should read. The papers which will come on the other side are the papers that you should read. The other remaining noise will be automatically kept away. Now, is this 100% accurate? Of course not, right? But this can give you a very good idea to start with. Out of 20,000 papers, 500 is still a better number, right? Second idea is what gets pulled out. So two moves does the most of the work in deciding what gets pulled out. First, named entity recognition. It spots the thing that matters in a sentence, a gene, a disease, an author, a place, everything. And then we use relationship extraction. First is entity recognition, and second is named entity recognition. That means it will just spot the things that matter in a sentence, okay, a gene, a disease, a author, a place, etc. And then relationship extraction works out on how these things are connected. Based on this, it decides what to pull out and what to keep, okay. So given the sentence, this variant is linked to early onset diabetes. The NER tool, named entity recognition tool, that's called NER tool, it tags the gene variant and disease. But relationship extraction tool, it labels the link between them as mutation causing disease. A novel does the same thing for English people with characters and their relationships. Only the reader usually does it by feeling, okay. So what novel does, it first finds out the character. If you send in a novel to this named entity recognition, it will find all the characters. It is, you can relate it to finding characters of the novel, and then this relationship extraction method works in finding relationship between these characters on how they are connected with each other. This is something that we do it by feeling, natural feeling, but our AI program, our NLP program will do it with use of statistics, okay. So it does this. Now next question is, did the machine understand the paper or it just counted which words repeat the most? In the last session, we talked about that idea of making a text into a table, right? So you have word 1, word 2, word 3, word 4, like this, and in document 1, how many times, what is the frequency of word 1, how many times it is used, what is the frequency of word 2, how many times it is used. In document 2 also you can find these frequencies. So this is something that we are doing. So is the machine understanding the paper, or it is just counting which word is repeating the most? So machine can compress a 40-page paper into one paragraph. Two very different machines could produce that same paragraph, and only one of them is really thinking, other one is just working with this table. Okay, thinking is something we are now associating with something called LLM. We are thinking that LLM does some kind of thinking in the way. Right now what we are learning is pure NLP, natural language processing, which is not having any LLM kind of idea. LLM, yaad karo, what are the LLMs? ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, everything is LLM, large language model. But NLP is a process जहाँ से बस हम text के ऊपर काम करते हैं. We are just working on text. Okay, so they could produce the same paragraph, but one of them is actually thinking. So for an example, one of the machine is doing extractive summary. What is extractive summary? Extractive summary is you are just copying or extracting the best sentences from the paper and putting it in a summary. That's called extractive summary. Okay, and second is abstractive summary, where you are reading the whole paper and then writing new sentences in its own word. The way we explain the paper to a friend is called abstractive summary. This abstractive summary does the thinking. But extractive summary, जहां पे बस आप extract करते हो text को, ये line अच्छा है, ये line अच्छा है, ये line अच्छा है, ऐसा करके, then that is not doing thinking, no thinking. Okay, so extractive summary is not doing the thinking, but abstractive summary, that means you are making a new abstract out of a paper. It writes the new sentences and it does the thinking for us. How do we summarize a research paper? The entire paper into a summary. How do we do it? So, of course, extractive tools rank sentences by importance. The extractive tools say that this sentence should be given rank number 3, but this sentence should be given rank number 1. Okay, and it stitches top few together. But abstractive tools, they generate a fresh sentence that captures the same meaning, closer to how human writes an abstract. Okay, so this is an abstractive and this is the extractive tool, and both are used in summarizing a research paper. You can use both of them in summarizing a research paper. So next time when we go and use ChatGPT for summarizing a research paper, you ask it to do extractive summary or you ask it to do abstractive summary, it will be able to do both. Okay, so real world example is AI abstract generators now read a full paper, PDF or text, and produce a structured summary covering purpose, method, results, and conclusion in a couple of 100 words, the same shape a journal abstract already has. Okay, so this is something that we are using AI for. There is something called AI abstract generator. You actually can use ChatGPT or Claude to generate abstracts using AI, and then you just need to tweak it a little bit. If you have the entire work, you give it and it will write abstract for you, then you have to just tweak it a little bit. That's something somewhere people are already using AI. Next, in summarizing what people say, because that is also summary, same shrinking trick works on people's words, not just papers. So researchers like psychology or economics, they often collect open-ended answers, survey comments, interview transcripts, and need to know what respondents actually felt at a scale no one can read by hand, because you are collecting data of suppose 10,000 people. Okay, in that 10,000 people's data, it is impossible to read everyone's long open-ended answer. It is impossible. So what we do is you use NLP to take out important words, important feelings from there, and that could be an extractive summary, that could be abstractive summary, but you can summarize it. So in psychology and social sciences, sentiment analysis tools are designed in this way. They sort thousands of open-ended surveys and interview responses into positive, negative, or neutral tone, and then summarize recurrent themes for the researcher to interpret. You have so many papers, so many answers from different people. You say 10% of them are negative, 20% of them are neutral, and 70% are positive. This thing happens during the election also, right? What people say could be long things, but you can just know their sentiments using NLP. And this is how you divide them, and then you can say 70% people are positive, so majority is positive about this government or negative about this government, something like this. People actually use this. Yeah. Does a citation count if a citation is praise or criticism? So when you send a paper, the another thing, in a very painstaking thing when writing a paper is citations, doing citations. Okay, that I took this line, or I got inspired for this line from this paper. I took this result from this paper. So this is a citation. It is a very painstaking task. AI helps us there, and we will learn a few wonderful AI tools in subsequent classes where AI is doing citation for us, or at least helping us in the citation mapping. Okay, so does a citation count if it is a praise or criticism? So two later papers cite the same study, but one is saying it was flawed and one calls it foundational. A citation count treats both mentions exactly same, but NLP can read how a paper is cited, not just that it is just cited. Okay, to map how ideas actually move through a field. So if one paper is saying the idea is flawed and other paper is saying it is foundational, if you are trying to prove it is flawed, then you should cite that paper, and you are trying to prove that it is foundational, you should cite that paper. Okay, but and this is something that keeps going in science, right? That if one person is trying to prove quantum physics for physics people, there are few others who are saying it is flawed. So if you are in the vote that it is a foundational research, then you keep taking backups from the papers which is saying that it is a foundational subject. Okay, and then you move ahead, then you move the entire field ahead. But if you just do a citation count, then it is just going to tell you how many people have cited quantum physics papers. That's all. So in that, flawed paper will also come and foundational paper will also come. But NLP will help you to tell you that, okay, this is a paper which is supporting your cause. So only cite that. Do not cite the other one. Okay, that's something that actually happens. Yes. So actually there are some tools which are doing something called citation analysis. Okay, they will produce a map like this is paper number 1, then paper number 1 has cited 3 papers, paper number 2, paper number 3, and paper number 4. It is a tree like structure. Okay, this is called a citation graph. Then paper 2 cited other papers, that is paper number 5 and paper number 6, but paper number 5 and paper number 2 both cited paper number 7. This is how a citation graph is made. There are many tools like Elicit and Cite where this citation graph would be made for us, and we will learn both of them. So by reading the text around each citation, NLP can pull group papers into research trajectories like this. This is called a trajectory. Separate lines of thought that grew out of the same starting point. Okay, for an example, a text mining studies of economic development literature from this year to this year, the combined citation network with text mining found they combined this citation network with text mining and found 3 distinct research trajectories growing from the same early ideas. Okay, like people started with same idea, but there was one research trajectory which was doing something else, other research trajectory doing something else, and other research trajectory doing something else. And this is a very wonderful idea to see that one entire field was developed here, one entire field was developed here, and one entire field of research was developed here. And it is very wonderful to see it visually. Okay, so this is how NLP tools are used in citation mapping also. So the idea is, it does not only mine science. Scholars use the very same word pattern methods on novels and poems called stylometry or distant reading. We call it distant reading. That means you are just reading it from top, trying to just get a gist, to study style and authorship across far more books than one person could ever have read. Okay, and that stylometry measures the features like word frequency, sentence length across hundreds of texts at once to find author's stylistic fingerprint, as we discussed, Robert Galbraith and J.K. Rowling, or to trace how a literary style shifts over decades. Like Shakespeare used to create content in one way, and now after some time, now the writing is done very differently. Okay, now Chetan Bhagat writes very differently, very different English. So this is the idea. You are basically working close, like you are basically working on trying to find the patterns how the literature is growing. Okay, so putting everything together, one field, three verbs. Okay, a mountain of text becomes manageable the moment a machine can find, shrink, and trace it for you. By finding, we use NLP. For shrinking, we use that summary. Okay, there are two kinds of summary, extractive and abstractive. And for tracing, we use this citation graph. Okay, so we use this NLP methods only for all three of them to work and do this kind of literature review in research. Okay, yes, so mine to find the relevant few, summarize to shrink a paper to its core, and trace citations to see how ideas actually connect. Same three verbs. So first is mining. Okay, you know the funnel picture, right? That's mining. Second is summarizing, and third is tracing. Now, the same three verbs work whether the corpus is 20,000 medical abstracts or 2 centuries of novels. In both the cases, this NLP pipeline would work where humans will be inadequate and NLP will do all the boring job so that you can focus on the interesting research. Okay, this is the idea that you can focus on interesting research by using NLP. In the next class, we will see how robotics is helpful in research, a lot of research work. Okay, so in the next class, we'll see that. Till that time, have a good day. Thank you.